It's a new year and the mailbag is full, so please stay tuned for a Your Questions Answered episode of Ham Radio Q&A. Hi, I'm Michael, KB9VBR, your host for Ham Radio Q&A. I'm on a mission to inspire and educate the amateur radio community, so if this is your first time watching, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Well, 2019 is upon us, and it's starting out to be a great year. I had an awesome time recently at the West Dallas Radio Amateur Club's Midwinter Swap Fest in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Thank you to everyone that stopped by my table and chatted. It was great to hear how appreciative everyone is for these videos. That's certainly motivation enough for me to keep doing them. So let's jump into this month's questions. Well, from my recent video on the 5 best amateur radio product reviews, 13WAPO asks, I know zero about radios, but was looking to get something portable, reliable, and durable for the system crash. Providing it happens, can someone point me in a direction? Thanks. That's a really big ask, but your level of communication need will really be dependent on who you need to communicate with. Be aware that portable handheld radios will most likely give you a mile or so of coverage, but are good for keeping your family together and in touch. GMRS, or the General Mobile Radio Service, is really good for that. If you're looking to get communications out of an affected area, say after a natural disaster, think of like a tornado or a hurricane, then amateur radio license would really be appropriate. There you can use HF transceivers that operate on the shortwave bands to communicate 100 or 1,000 miles or more. But any choice you make will require training and education, as you won't be successful unless you understand the capabilities of your equipment. Now, this answer seems to be a little bit terse, but I think what I'm going to need to do is to make a video to develop these concepts a little bit more further. So stay tuned and let me know if you have any further questions that we can address in a future video. From my recent video on the introduction to APRS, N9IBZ asks, I would like to know what the difference is between APRS and DPRS. I'm thinking of maybe giving it a try, but I'm not sure which way to go or which one is better. Well, DPRS is ICOM's implementation of APRS. Your D-Star radio can beacon an APRS formatted message, but the D-Star repeater needs to be bridged somehow to the APRS data stream in order for the packet to propagate. If you already have ICOM equipment, this may be a way for you to send your location to the APRS network. But if you're just starting out with APRS, I'd go with either a radio that's APRS equipped, like one of the Kenwood or the Yaesu models, or a simple 2-meter rig with an APRS tracker box, like the Tiny Tracker or the Argent Open Tracker, and a GPS unit. In my video review of the Ailunce HD1 transceiver, Tom Peach asks, no mention of the antenna mismatch issue? Well, you bring up an interesting point, and this is really news to me. I did not test the antenna, nor was I aware that there is a mismatch problem. There is some information about the quality of the antenna, and it appears that I found a little bit of information online that the transceiver may be putting out 40 ohms instead of 50 ohms. But that's about all I could really find about an antenna mismatch issue. In my video review, I recommended that you do not use the 10-watt high power mode, basically for safety reasons. And it appears that the mismatch really becomes apparent when you do use the radio at 10 watts. So that recommendation will also stand for any potential impedance issues with the radio. Now, I do plan to research this further, as I'm sure that there are many users that will want to use this radio with an accessory or an external antenna. So please stay tuned for that. With my Retevis RT52 review, Ronnie asks, Michael, have you checked to see what VFO the external jacks control? The speaker mic or packet cable? Thanks. Okay, so I checked this out. I connected a 2-pin speaker mic to the radio, and I found that it will always key the A band. You can switch between the A and the B band on the radio, but the speaker mic defaults back to A band. It would have been nice to see the speaker mic control whatever band is active, but keying the radio with the speaker mic, it always reverts back to A band. So I hope that answers your question. And finally, I continually get statements like this. Wow, 2 watts, or my Baofeng is 8 watts and $100 cheaper, or my UV5R is 12 watts verified. Well, my answer to this is, communications is not always about power, but rather suitability to the task. More power isn't better. All an 8 or 10 watt handheld radio will do is heat up faster and drain your battery. I really don't recommend more than 5 watts for a handheld radio, as doubling the power does not equate to doubling the distance. If you need power and distance, then do it with a radio and antenna system capable of meeting those needs, and do it in a safe manner. Now, I'm not against high power. I like to run my mobile radios at 50 watts. On HF, I'm just as likely to run barefoot as I am QRP. But a handheld radio is designed for portable, short-range communications. So if the antenna is close to my head, I'm going to turn that thing down to 5 watts. Likewise, don't try to shoehorn a radio or radio service into a use that it's not suited for. Low-powered handheld VHF, UHF, FM transceivers give you great audio quality and low noise that is resistant to electrical interference and other noise. So it's a perfect solution for short-range communications like in buildings, warehouses, and portable use outdoors. But you're not going to get long-distance communications with your MURS handheld or 2-watt GMRS radios. They aren't equipped for that. Well, that's it for this month. Thanks for everyone that dropped suggestions last week for upcoming episodes. I'll try to work in as many as I can into the production schedule. It's winter here in northern Wisconsin, but I still plan to get outdoors in a few weeks for Winter Field Day, so I hope to hear you on the air then. For more articles and information, please check out my blog at www.jpole-antenna.com. Your support of this channel drives the production for future videos, so if you enjoyed this video, give me that big thumbs up, and don't forget to check out some of the other videos that are suggested alongside here. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Pressing subscribe will notify you when future videos are produced. Well, I'm Michael, KB9VBR. Have a great day, and 73.